Thank you, Melissa. We do have some time for questions. I see that you've answered a couple that have come in through the Q&A, and we have typed answers for those. So I may go ahead and read those questions and their responses. The first was, how is the curation done? And your response to that was that curation includes two major activities: helping submitters represent their data correctly in submission forms so that it's structured within ClinVar in a way that's consistent with the submitter's meaning, and also curating underlying data like variant descriptions and diseases. We use a combination of automated processes to identify certain problem cases, for example, variants for which we don't have a location on the genome, and manual curation to fill in gaps or correct errors. I'll also note that we'll be talking more about the expert panels that do curate genes and variants on tomorrow's breakout session. The other question that we got from Melissa, and
I think it went to the top of the Q&A panel, Laura.
Thank you.
Did you find, you want me to read it out?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this was a question from Lisa Roberts. As an infrequent submitter, what's the easiest way to update a variant with publication data? This is a great question. This comes up all the time. So I didn't mention it in the talk today, but we have another option for submission in Submission Portal, and it's called Single SCV Update. So this is another online form. It's another wizard that lets you update a single record at a time. So it's easier than doing an update through the file submission. It's a limited form, so there's, I think, maybe about 8 fields that you can update using this online form, but it's the fields that are most frequently needing to be like an urgent update, like the classification, a citation for your classification of the variant. You can update the disease, the date you last evaluated it. So it's very quick to submit through the form because it's limited, and we also are typically able to process those very quickly. We know that often people are submitting those because it's a classification update, so we do prioritize those, and they typically go out within a week.
Thanks. So I have a question. I'm wondering what new work you all are doing on ClinGen, if anything is kind of coming up on the horizon that you'd want to share with us.
Yes, we have a lot of upcoming work that I didn't really talk about today. The next big thing that we are working on is related to submission. So we are developing an API for submission. So that will give us a pathway that's entirely automated for submission, both for the submitter and for us. So we had an initial release of the API in November. We made it available to 2 of our existing submitters, including ClinGen, so the group that organizes submission from ClinGen's variant curation interface to ClinVar. They've been testing it, and then a clinical laboratory has been testing. So we got some very good feedback from that testing. We're working on adding a batch option for submission to the API, and we expect to make that available to our submitters in February, maybe early March, and then we'll open it up to all of our submitters once we know it's working for some of our heavy hitter submitters. We'll make it available to everyone. So that's our most recent change that's coming up. And I would say, looking out a little bit longer, we're going to be shifting gears away from focusing on submission processing, which is where most of our effort has been for the last year or 2. We're going to start thinking about improving our web displays and making search easier. So I would say if one thing we like to do is talk to our users and get feedback. So if anybody on the call is interested ever in talking with us, say in a user interview or doing user testing, you could use my contact information or the ClinVar information and let us know that you would love to work with us. You could also just use that feedback button that I mentioned, and you can give us feedback and let us know, I can never find, this kind of information, or whenever I search for this, I expect to get that, or I can't find this information on a web page. All of those kinds of pieces of feedback are helpful for us to know where should we put our effort going forward.
Thank you. That sounds great.